Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts,
Morgan
and Bailey. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. It's kind of like a part 2 from our last episode. So if you haven't checked that one out, go back real quick, check that one out. That one's all about, are your friends holding you back? Are you surrounded by the people that are pushing you to be your best self and like on the same path as you? And so we thought, well, if you're listening to that episode and you find out that your friends are not you know, in the same path as you, and you're like, well, what do I do now? How do I make these new friends? That's what this episode's about. So we're just going to be kind of, talking just about how we can meet new people, and even if the people in your life right now are great and you're loving them, but you're just wanting a little bit more, and you're wanting more of a sense of community, that's what this episode's about as well. It can be really hard to make adult friends.
Oh my gosh, it's so challenging.
It's so challenging, and you are like an expert at it because you're so you're just so good at talking to people.
I like to make friends.
You do like to make friends, and so I feel like this is like right up your wheelhouse, and I have made so many of my friends through you. So
there's your first step. Have a sister.
Have a sister who is really good with people, and that is first step.
I feel like this is like step 2. If last week was like, okay, evaluate, are your friends working for you? Are your surroundings working for you? Then this is like step 2 of, okay, if the answer is maybe not all the time, then here's what to do about it, and here's how you can make friends. So I have talked with so many people who resonate with the idea that making friends as an adult is just hard. And so I think that after a few years of being an adult now, I feel like I've figured out where there are kind of more
like openings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it is such an awkward thing, like after school, because you don't have those built-in things like athletics and clubs and extracurriculars where you kind of just have people that already have similar interests as you.
Yeah. You're like forced to make friends as kids.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to dive into the episode, dive into this topic. I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, me too. Before we do get into the juice of the episode, what is filling your cup?
Today, I have, of course, my water, and then I did look up, I looked this up for my stupid, like, my clear aligner things that I'm very thankful for. They're not stupid. Yeah. But that you can use, like, a straw with clear liquids, like, not with, like, iced coffee and stuff like that could stain, or, like, drinking wine through a straw or anything like that could stain your things.
The red wine.
So I'm drinking a vanilla cola Zevia through a straw today.
I love that.
What about
Sorry, I was just gonna say I feel like you have had trouble getting a hold of Zevias lately.
I went to the Price Chopper by you.
Nice. I was gonna say, where'd you get them? Yeah, they're stocked with the one by us.
Jared and I had a Saturday where we had nothing to do.
Oh hell yeah.
It was the best. I worked on my yoga course that I told you I was taking. I started our book club book.
Oh,
we went to Hobby Lobby and like got a couple fall decor items. Jared's been like wanting to do that, which is so random.
I love that about Jared. It is just so unexpected.
Yeah,
but
he's like, he woke up in the morning. He's like, you know what we should do? We should go to Hobby Lobby today and see if we're inspired at all by the fall decor.
And like what? You're going to say no to that? Like no?
Yeah, it was a blast. I had a gift card I forgot about.
Oh, hell and then you love having gift cards. You always forget about those.
Yeah, and then while we were over there, we were like, I was like, can we go to Price Chopper and get Zevias? He's like, okay. Fun. That's where I got what you're drinking, actually. So what's filling your cup?
I have some apple cider. Thankful to Morgan's fridge that I got this out of. It's my first apple cider of the season.
Ooh.
So I'm loving it. It truly just feels good. Like there's football in the living room and the window's open. I can see an orange tree. And I just have my little apple cider. I am having trouble talking today, I guess.
I love the apple cider. I think that's so fun. I'm glad that you took advantage of that. I want to get into our shout out because I just had brunch with Jared's mom for her birthday, Kathleen, and she was telling me, she was literally saying at brunch, and this was unprompted. She sat down and we were asking her who's coming over for the football game, and she was like, well, Morgan, you know, this is a long-winded, she admitted this is a long story to answer your question, but she was like, do you remember we went on this vacation to Minnesota to visit Jared's aunt and uncle, and we took the car, we drove there with Kathleen, and we talked about a lot of things, and one of the things, she was like, do you remember telling me that your 5 closest friends really say a lot about you and really like kind of point the finger in your direction of like what your life looks like and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't particularly remember saying it at that time because I didn't come up with that idea. Like, I'm sure I got it from someone else.
Yeah.
But I was like, Bailey and I just recorded an episode on that. It's so funny. It's not out yet at the time that I'm having brunch with her.
Yeah.
But I was like, I will send it to you when we're done. And she was like, oh, I would love that. You know? So shout out to Kathleen. She was one of our first Apple Podcast reviews.
Oh, she was. She's been an avid supporter.
Yes, she's been an avid supporter. She admitted that she's not caught up, but I was like, no worries. Just listen to the ones that you like.
Yeah, we're freaking 20 episodes in. That's a lot to listen to. Yeah. And speaking of being 20 episodes in, if you have been listening and you are enjoying, please leave us a review. It does so much for us. It just tells us kind of what you guys are liking, and we would love to see something from you guys because we're on episode 20. Oh, 20 weeks.
Crazy.
Of Fill Your Cups podcast.
So fun.
Wild. I love it. But no, I loved whenever you were telling me that story about Kathleen. I was like, that is so fun because she had no idea that we just recorded that episode. She had no idea that today we're recording a part 2 of that episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is just perfect. And it really does stick with you.
Yeah.
Once you realize that the 5 closest people to you say a lot about you and make up your life, it really does change things and like gives you such a perspective.
Yeah. And to be honest, some of the things that I'll share will come from having watched her. Like since that road trip, which was 2 years ago, I think, she has made a lot of new friends and she has ingrained herself in a lot of different groups that she wasn't in before. And a really big part of it was because she was like, I just feel like I love my friends, but I feel like they're not really getting me any step further in life, like not getting her anywhere closer to where she wants to be. And so she still spends time with those people,
of course,
but she has really changed a lot of her activities and a lot of her people that she surrounds herself with on a daily basis.
I love that.
Yeah, and people she talks to regularly. So
it's so fun. That's so cool.
It's just like what I feel like we talk about this all the time, how we're always like someday, and it's like today,
you know. Yes, I love that. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it and talk about how we can make these friends as adults.
Yeah.
It can be so hard.
Yeah, so before we dive in, we always like to talk about how we came to our topic for today. So today is really, we said it was a continuation of last week's, but when we were thinking about episodes, it's funny, we were both like, I was kind of thinking about an episode about friends and kind of how they hold you back. And Bailey's like, wait, that's funny. Because I was I was thinking about doing an episode about friends and how to make them.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were just like, okay, well, we're both thinking about friendships and how important they are in your life. And so we can do one that's kind of like half of the series or half of the part that is like, okay, what are your friends exactly where you want them to be? Do you have the friends that you want? Do you have the friends with interests that you like? That sort of thing. Yeah. And then that'll be one episode because it would kind of be a lot to get into how to make friends in the same episode. Yeah. And then we can talk about the fun of like how you make friends as an adult because
how you find them.
Yeah, because it can be so hard. So that was kind of how we thought of it.
That was funny. We were just texting each other and we were like, wait, we have like the same idea, but different.
Yes.
So that was funny.
Exactly.
Well, I know that whenever I want to talk about how to make friends, it was because I hear people all the time saying like, I don't know how to make friends, or like, how do you guys have good friendships with other adults in your life and things like that. And it can just be so hard not to have a group that you feel comfortable with, or if you are new on a town, not knowing how to make these friends. So we really just wanted to talk about that and just kind of share almost like a firsthand experiences of how we have done it.
Yes.
And I do feel like we have a really good friend group. Like I know I have a lot of friends who I only just met as an adult. You have a ton of friends who you've only met just now as an adult. So we're just going to kind of share what's worked for us and what we've noticed. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I also think that when I was thinking about this episode and this list, I do have friends too that I feel like it's more common now that you make some of your closest friends when you go away to school. Now I know that's not necessarily the case for you, but for me, like I made the majority of my closest friends whenever I went to Mizzou.
Yeah.
And naturally, if you make the majority of your closest friends when you go to college, you all go separate ways because your hometowns are different.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I had friends that went back to Chicago and others that went further away. Like my best friend moved to California at one point. I had another friend that went to medical school in literally like the Bahamas and then England, and you know what I mean? So I just feel like it can be really challenging when you like get settled wherever it is that you're settled and you're like, oh, well, I don't really have anybody here.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think that honestly, if we're like, let's start our list. Our first one that's on our list is our book club. Yeah. And I know we talk about it all the time, but it's because we do. It has just been something that's how we've made so many friends. And that's how I've made so many friends through this book club. And it's so funny because I will hear a lot of people be like, but how do you start a book club? Morgan.
Yes.
How do you start a book club?
So the way that I did was that I literally just texted everybody that I knew.
Literally.
I felt like, and the reason that I knew to do this and that it could be successful is because I did this in college first with volleyball, which is also on here actually. But in college with volleyball, I was just like, I don't know, if there's something that you want to do, like say have an coordinated activity each week, like read more books or play more volleyball or whatever it is, then obviously a lot of the time you have to have somebody else to do that with. And so with volleyball, I just learned that if I texted like genuinely like 40 to 50 people,
it was awesome,
then at least 10 to 12 would show up. And because not everybody was going to be available on Wednesdays at 4:00 or whatever time it was, but I knew that at least some of those people would be, and I was willing to be the person to have like a good attitude about it, no matter how many people or who it was that showed up or what their skill level was and all that. Yeah. So I imitated that for book club whenever I was like sitting here twiddling my thumbs. Yeah. For like months, I had gotten really back into book club, and I was like, man, I just really want people to talk with about books. Yeah. And
you had gotten back into reading.
Yeah, what'd I say?
Book club.
Oh, yeah, I had gotten back into reading for several months, and I was like, I really want to just gab about books with people. Yeah. And so I did the exact same thing where I just texted everybody that I knew that either read books or I just thought might for me. And really, and really like the first connection point was your sister-in-law, Morgan Kurtz, not Adralis. And I was just like, okay, if I can connect with her and we can kind of pick like a first book and a first meeting place together, then
all the Morgans.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, at least I know that me and Morgan will show up. Yeah. So then whenever we had our first book club, it was literally 6 people. You were out of town, but I knew that you would come if I asked you to. But our other sister Julia came, and then 3 other of my friends that I had just messaged and asked. And since then it's grown to like, I don't know, 14 people or something.
It's huge.
Yeah. So so really I would just say like, just think of anybody. It could be work friends. It could be people that you knew from college. It could be
siblings.
Your siblings. It could be your siblings' in-laws. Seriously. Like, I just feel like the reason that people don't do this type of thing is because they second guess if someone's going to say yes or no, or I don't know. And it's just like, does it even matter? They're for sure going to say no if you never ask them.
True. I also think it's such a thing where people are striving for community and friends. And like that is why this is such a topical episode, because so many people talk about how hard it is. So if it's hard for all of us, that means that
if you're the initiator,
all wanting it. Yes. Yeah. So if someone reaches out to you and says like, hey, do you want to be a part of my book club? And you're already thinking to yourself like, oh man, I'd love to be a part of a book club. Like, that's awesome. So be the initiator. I do want to give a disclaimer that to make friends, you have to be able to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to talk to people. You do have to be willing to, like, be kind of scared and make the first move. It's almost like dating.
Yes.
You've got to be okay with...
Definitely.
Yeah, with going on the dates.
Yes, definitely.
and making the first moves.
You have to get the app. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't... If you make no move yourself, if you don't initiate anything yourself, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that a lot. I will say I've also seen, so I'll see people on like TikTok and things like that be like, oh, I want to join a book club. How do I find that? And there's other ways. So if you are new to town and you're like, I don't even have anybody here that I can ask, or I don't know 50 people kind of thing. You can also, I know that libraries host book clubs, and I only know that because of you, because you started, like, public libraries, they'll have them if you just go in, and public libraries are free, guys.
Also, tons of coffee shops. I've noticed this pop up recently. So there's like a plant shop in downtown Blue Springs. Have you?
No, but I want to go so freaking bad.
Read and Rooted.
I just saw this
place. It's so cute. So it's a plant shop. Oh my gosh. Also, I was on Facebook the other day. They have our Pumpkin Spice Cafe book club book. They're selling it in the I'm not shitting you. It's a plant shop, and then it's called Read and Rooted. So it's mostly plants, and then they have been getting in like bouts of books.
Yeah.
And they don't have a ton of books, but they do sell them there. And when I went to their ribbon cutting, and she was talking about how she wanted to start a book club, and I'm pretty sure they did, at least online.
Oh, I love it.
Like at least with Facebook or something. But there's another place that I know they meet in person, and it's like right in Grain Valley, and it's a coffee shop. And when I realized that, like, because I followed them on Facebook, again, social media is such a great place to like be able to get your foot in.
Yeah.
But that coffee shop, they have a book club once a month, and they kind of like in the Facebook page, they have people vote on the book, and then
fun.
Yeah, and then they read and they go there. Yeah, but I'm sure like there are coffee shops everywhere. I'm sure that there is one near you if you just like search their Facebook pages and find one that has a book club. That's a great place.
There's also, I know that local bookstores will do it too. So you remember that?
Oh yeah.
That I can't remember what it's called. It wasn't Under the Covers because that was in Chicago. But I'm talking about the one here that we went to after Shaylin's brunch.
Oh, I thought it was called.
Was it called Under the Covers? I think it actually was Under the Covers.
It's just cover.
Under the Cover. Okay, Under the Cover in Kansas City. I know that they do a book club. They had a poster on their wall, and it was just like a once a month thing that you could just go. So local bookstores, local coffee shops, like these places want that community. They want to be involved in things. And if book club's not your thing, that's okay. You can also find a bowling league.
I was going to say
a yoga class.
Yes, one of the things on my list was like our volleyball league. So and the reason it's so tied to me is because I did like I felt like when I played volleyball in college and roped people into that, it was the exact same way that I roped people into book club. but yeah, like whether it's volleyball or like bowling, like you said, or something like that, there are also Facebook groups for those. So when we lived downtown, we lived close to the River Market. You know how we used to play over by Berkeley Riverfront Park? Beautiful place to play volleyball. There was a Facebook group that was just kind of open volleyball, and you could join it just to see when people were going to the courts to play, and people would post headed out, 5 or 6 of us are headed out to play. And so that way, like if you were on a Friday night and you had nothing to do and you didn't really want to go out to the bars or whatever, you could just go to the volleyball courts and people would be there. So and you knew that they were welcome, or that you were welcome because they posted in the Facebook group. I swear there's a Facebook group for everything.
There is.
And that is part of where Kathleen has met lots of her new friends.
That's so fun. And honestly, where you've met a lot of friends, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just make connections.
I am not above Instagram messaging somebody. No. Multiple people in our book club came from that. So
Yes.
And for you too.
Yeah. For me too. Yeah. There's girls in our book club who, I mean, guys, this one's literally on our list of like Instagram, Facebook, like these great ways to meet people can be through there, where I had, her name was Haley. If you're listening to this, I love you. I'm so glad that I get to be your friend. But her and I hope that she feels the same way. Otherwise, this will be an embarrassing story for me. But she and apparently we met when we were really little.
Yeah,
volleyball.
You guys actually did play volleyball together. I kind of recognized her once she said that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's something I totally forgot about. I do not remember that. I think I have a terrible memory if you know me. So anyway, but her and I were just like mutuals for the longest time on Instagram. Like we would always like each other's posts. I feel like whenever she got married, I commented and was like, oh my God, congratulations. Like I was up to date with her life did not know who she was, had never really met her as an, like if we met each other as kids, it's almost kind of like we're the invisible string kind of thing. Aww. But it's like as an adult, I hadn't met her. We were not a part of each other's lives.
Yeah.
And then we were in our book club, me and Morgan, we were in our book club, and Haley would always like the stories I would post, or always like the books I was reading, and she would comment on like my stories and be like, oh my God, like I love this book. And then one day I was like, you should come to book club. Like we should meet each other. You should come to book club. It's obvious that you want to. And like, I feel like we have a lot in common. And now she's a regular member of our book club, and I get to see her once a month, and it's so fun. And like,
that's how it was with Brittany. I had not met Brittany in person, even though I would have considered us friends.
Me with Haley, I'm like, no, she's my friend. She's my Instagram friend.
Had not met her until she came to book club the first time.
And which is so funny because you guys seemed so natural.
And and now we have like lunch regularly. Yeah. Like
she's like an OG member.
Oh, totally, yeah. I think it's so. I am not above Instagram messaging people, and you shouldn't be either. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If you, I just always think like it's always worth asking or reaching out or whatever, because the thing is, if you never reach out or you never ask, the answer is always going to be no. Yeah. Because you never gave them the answer to say, or the option to say yes. Mm-hmm. So it's, and there were plenty of people that I messaged about the book club that did not join, which is totally fine.
Because 6 people showed up at the first one.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It grew from there. No, I love that. There's also nothing wrong with, like, on Instagram or Facebook, like, everyone likes a compliment. If you're seeing something, I feel very strongly about this, that if you have a compliment that you want to give someone, or you like it pops into your head, you should say it. Like,
life's too short not to.
It's too short, and I think it's because I'm a words of affirmation person, so it comes really naturally to me, and I know other people, that's not natural for them at all. But, like, I feel like I saw you, I liked your shirt, and I said, oh my gosh, you look so cute. That was like the first thing I said to you. And I said, I love your shirt. And I liked her hair, and I was like, your hair looks good. Like, and no one doesn't like a compliment. And so if you're seeing, like, I had another Instagram friend is what I call her because I've never met her in real life. But when she got married, I was commenting on her post, and I was like, oh my God, your dress is beautiful. And like, they just posted their like 1-year anniversary or something, and I slid up on her story, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I still am obsessed with your dress, like obsessed with you. This is so cool. And I feel like we're friends.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
There are plenty of people that I don't know that I'm friends with on Instagram.
Exactly. It's such an easy way. I also feel like God, this is so fun. I feel like it's like a tangent episode because I'm like, guys, make your freaking friends. But on to what we were saying earlier about the book club of like, book club's not your thing, you want to do something else, you can do like the yoga or the Pilates, or it doesn't even have to be that, but there are classes that you can join.
So not even just, you can do free ones. Like, for instance, we went to one that was at our local art museum's lawn. The Nelson Art Museum has them for free. Like, you could literally go to a free course, and then at the end of it, just instead of rushing out of there and being like, I'm antisocial. Stick around. You could literally just like look over to the next person and being like, I love your set. That's so cute. Absolutely. Or be like, oh, that was a really great class. I've never been to one of these. Have you been to multiple of these? Like, really asking a question for the everybody loves a compliment.
Everyone loves a compliment.
And everybody loves to talk about themselves. So
that is the truth.
so give them a compliment, ask them a question. Yeah. And like, some people may seem a little bit like put off at first, because quite honestly, they're not put off because you're asking them a question. They're put off because most people don't ask questions. Yep. Most people are not interested in anybody but themselves. So it's like,
and that's okay. Not everyone you talk to is going to be as bubbly and happy-go-lucky as like we would be. Sure. And that's okay. And that's another one of those situations of like, you don't know until you try it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But it's like, they for sure are never going to respond to you if you never ask them a question, so so there's that. And then also, if you are a part of like a gym or a fitness studio, I know some of my friends, like my friend McKenna has been going regularly to Power Life, which is also where Kristen used to teach at, but there's like Power Life studios or Core what is it? Core Yoga or Pure Barre or like Orange Theory. There's all these different studios. Yep. And I feel like everybody's inclination after class is to just like get changed, rushed out of there, whatever. If you have a few extra minutes, just take the few extra minutes to look over at someone and be like, oh, was this your first whatever class? Yeah. Or, oh my gosh, that was really challenging. Like, or, you know, I love your set, or where'd you get your yoga mat, or whatever it is. I feel like that is a great, you already know you have a similar interest. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and then you see each other next time and you're like, hey, like, this set's adorable too. Yeah. Like, or like, oh my gosh, when I got home, I went on Amazon and like looked at that set that you were looking at and got a similar one. Like, you know, it's so, it really is so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah. And then I would even encourage you to go a step further, and now getting each other's numbers sometimes feels very taboo at first, but you could easily get each other's Instagrams, like, or Snapchat, or whatever it is that.
And it might take a couple weeks of build up for you. It's like the dating.
Yeah, but you can literally just be like, oh my, and especially if they say like, oh yeah, it's a set that I found on Instagram or something like that. You could be like, send it to me, and then you have their info. Like, literally, it's so nice.
That is so funny. That is actually how I got my best friend's number. So, I mean, this was back, not through Instagram and not through like a set, but yeah, this is so funny. We became friends in high school, but she had a picture of Harry Styles that I wanted, and I said, oh my God, you need to send that to me. And I was like, here's my number.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. We never stopped talking after that, but it really is as easy as that. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. So I feel like, especially somewhere like that where you already know you have a similar interest, like you're at the coffee shop for the book club, or even you're just at a coffee shop, like you know that this person likes coffee. Person likes to go out and get coffee, or you're at the fitness studio, or you're at, where's somewhere else that you would have similar interest? I don't know.
The
library club. Or the club. There you go. I have totally added people on Instagram.
So have I.
Going out.
I have so many Snapchat friends from the club.
If you're at like the Hot Country Nights, like you're at the local country concert or something, you know you have something in common. You know what I mean?
You can always find a friend in the bathroom. Girls' bathrooms are magical.
Yes, sometimes too many friends in the bathroom. But yeah, exactly. And I will say that I kind of used this. So I feel like the given when it's like hard to make friends is that maybe you haven't made friends at work or whatever. Yeah. But there are things like, so my workplace, okay, I make plenty of friends at work.
Morgan makes friends everywhere she goes.
Multiple of our people in our book club are friends from my work. But
who I have now become friends with. Yeah. And I don't work with them.
Honestly, closer friends with, which I'm kind of jealous of. But whatever. But
sorry.
It's an age thing, whatever. But anyway, no, but we, like, my workplace is a part of the local Chamber of Commerce. So if you're in a workplace that has the opportunity for you to go to, like, networking events or things like that, again,
happy hours.
Again, like, kind of a scary place to be sometimes. Yep. But when you put yourself out there, a lot of the time it's worth it. And my new friend Ruby.
Oh, do you remember? Yes.
The way that we met was we were at, like, a coffee networking event. I was just asking her some questions because, again, like, I just want people to feel like I care about them. And I do. Like, I care about them. I care about what they're telling me, whatever. Yeah. And I was asking her questions. And quickly into the conversation, I realized that she is brand new here. She has been here, like, 3 weeks, moved from Colorado, doesn't know anybody. I literally, at some point, I was like, so do you have, like, family here? And she's like, oh, no. And then I was like, do you have, like, a roommate? She's, oh, no. And then I was like, have you made any friends yet? Like, I just genuinely, and she's about our age. Like, so I just genuinely was like, do you need a friend, you know? Like, it's basically, and then she was like, oh, I've made, like, one friend. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we got to talking about some of her interests, and she was reading It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And I was
Which was so funny, guys.
Yes.
Because
we were planning on going to see that as our book club. So I was like, oh my gosh. And so I texted her, she gave me her business card, and she was like, my phone number is on there. If if you want it, it's my personal. And I was like, oh God.
Of course I want it.
Yeah. But at first I was like, oh God, get your personal phone number off your business card.
I feel like I'm worried for you.
Just kidding. But yeah, so then later I texted her and I was like, I didn't even think of this, but our book club is doing this, whatever. And now I would say, like, we're friends. Like, we've had lunch a couple times.
She came to the movie.
She came to the movie. She's come to book club. She went to our last book club too.
Oh, fun. I did not go to that one. Find out why in our book club episode.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you can just, exchange info right there.
Yeah.
Just ask each other a few questions. It's, I don't know. I really think the compliment in question
works like a charm.
Compliment in question. Just keep it in your back, in the back of your head.
Yep. It works like a charm every time. And like, that is so exciting for her because she is in a new spot where she's like, I don't know anybody. How the heck do I make these friends? She had a conversation with one person, you, which is lucky for her. But she had a conversation, and then boom, like this whole other world opened up.
You know
like,
what the opening was?
What was it?
I just remembered this. Because she had this cute little, like, it was like a pink skirt kind of, almost, but it was more of like a businessy skirt. It was so cute.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I love your skirt, you know? and then
compliment.
Compliment
And
question.
did you say, where did you get it?
I am sure I did, but I can't remember where she did get it.
Oh, that's all right. You were at that point, you were invested in the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, if we were also going to go with more ways to meet people, and maybe you're not as social, or you have really decided that they're like, you're really looking for a certain path of life. I feel like church can be a great place. Now, church is not for everyone. Totally get that. But if it is, and you're finding yourself like kind of wanting to go, you know, explore your relationship with religion and things like that, church is great. There's so many groups within a church at almost every church. Now, you got to find a good church. I do feel like most of them are, you know, you want a fun, exciting
It's just
church.
like anything else where you probably want a referral. Like, a referral goes the longest way. So if you know, you can do your research and like review them and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think this is another great example of where you kind of have to, like, some people, the way they treat church is they go in and they go out, right? Just like the gym or the wherever we're talking about. And church is another great place where they have plenty of opportunities to connect. Most churches, at least.
Yes, most churches.
Where if you just stay just a little bit longer, you see someone from across the way or whatever that you
go to the coffee station.
Yes.
A lot of churches will have coffee in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Then just take that one extra step of connecting with somebody before you leave.
Yeah.
Or before you enter the sanctuary or whatever hall or whatever it is. Then I feel like that's just another great example of how you can't really make excuses for yourself if you're not making friends, because there are so many people that go to church and then they leave and they're like, well, I didn't make any friends.
Yep.
It's like, okay, sometimes you have to take the extra step. You know, sometimes you have to.
Yeah, or like, no one talked to me.
Yes.
Like, we're all scared to talk to each other.
I went to church and no one talked to me. Okay, did you talk to anybody?
Right. Yep. I will say that the church we grew up at, and I thought it was a great church. I really liked it. And I don't have a ton of experiences with other churches because I really just would go to that one and like the one in college in Columbia. But I know that our church growing up was great about always, like, I know before the service would start, you know, the pastor gets up there or the worship team, they're saying like, look to your neighbor, say hi for a couple minutes. And they would like encourage you to talk for like 3 minutes or whatever. And then they'd be like, all right, back up here. Or they would hand out, or they would have like the cards in the back of the pews.
Yeah.
So you could look at those and it would tell you like, hey, on Wednesday night, we're having a worship night. And on Thursday night, we're having like this big barbecue. And like, you know, I feel like churches host a ton of events. And they want you to come to them. They want you to be a part of that. So maybe you're like, I don't know where to go. I don't have anybody here to refer me to one. There's going to be people around Easter every year will come to your house and give you cards.
That's true.
Go to those churches. Try them out.
That is so true. Yeah. And I think the other thing with churches is that you can get involved in like smaller groups or like go to the events or things like that.
Life groups.
The other cool thing about churches is that you can also get involved in serving in some way. Like often if you are putting yourself in a position of service at a church, then you are probably going to meet some of the leaders that are in the church already. And so it's a really, really great way to meet people. The small groups, of course. Yeah. I feel like it's a great way to meet people, and you're probably going to find people with similar beliefs, similar values, similar interests as you.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing too, as we say that this is like a continuation of our last episode of how we're finding friends that are aligned with you. Going to the organizations or going to the things that you see for yourself that you want in your life that like are your priorities. Getting involved in those things are going to help you make those friends that are also involved in those things.
Yeah, I think especially as people become parents too, some of these things become a little bit more
daunting and time consuming.
Well, it becomes daunting to make friends, but they become a little bit more aware of what are important things to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they could go to the club and make friends, but probably not if they have kids.
No,
you know,
they're like, I don't want. I'm trying to leave my clubbing friends behind.
Exactly. Yeah. So going to the club Friday night is probably less likely of a place that they're gonna make friends.
Yep.
Than going to church Sunday and like staying after, or even just like you pick your kid up from the kindergarten room or whatever, and then you talk to a parent in the hallway who also has a kindergartner. Like you already know that you have a similar interest, and you already know that you guys are in a place where you value the same thing, and so it just makes it easier to know that you might jive.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like going to the park and you're seeing another mom there, or I mean a dad if you're listening to this, you see another parent there, and
or story time at the library, or I've seen like mommy and me yoga classes.
Oh yes,
Jared's cousin, I think. There's age differences. So anyway, she leads like mommy and me yoga classes.
How fun.
So cute. Like you already know that person there has something in their life that's similar to you and has an interest that's similar to you.
Yes, I absolutely love that one. Man, we've really gone through these, and obviously we feel strongly about these.
Yes. So, I think the last one that I had though, and you are familiar with this, is I remember different apartments that I lived in. So if you're renting and you live like in an apartment complex, or even a community that has some sort of community hall or community room or something like that, a neighborhood that has like a clubhouse like or HOA, something. Yeah, they probably have events. Again, this is a great time to get connected to whatever the Facebook page is or whatever. Even today, Keegan and Anna, Jared's brother and his partner, I was telling them, like, do you have a resident portal? Because you can go in there to see, like, what deals you have, whatever. And they were finding that stuff in their resident portal that they didn't know existed.
Love it.
Yeah, so you can go into your resident portal or your apartment complex's Facebook group or whatever it is and find when they're having events. Sometimes they have, like, little social hours. Yeah. You planned stuff like that?
Oh, my gosh, yes. As a property manager, you literally had to have one event a week. And you had to have a large event per month. Now, it was student housing, but no, actually, whenever I even worked here in just regular multi-family housing, we still had to do that. And property managers want you to come. Otherwise, our time is wasted. We want you there. We're trying to get you. I say we. I was, guys. We want you there. Yeah, we're trying to do things that, like, are getting the community involved. Yeah. So, yeah, go to those.
And you already know that someone there is seeking connection, too. Yeah. You know, if they put themselves in that spot. Jared and I went to a wine and paint one.
I've done that, too.
It was literally us two and this, like, one probably 6-year-old woman, and she was so sweet. And then after that, we saw her every time we saw her in the hallway, we're like, oh, hi, good to see you. You know, we talked to her in the elevator or whatever. Yeah. And we expected to meet a few more people, but there are lots of events like that, and it's such an easy thing. It's like literally in your living space.
Yeah. I love that so much. I also think that it could be said for making friends with your neighbors. Now, definitely. This is not something I've ever done because I am more of like a scaredy cat. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a scaredy cat. I'm not ever scared to talk to people. I just am more like of a homebody. But I know that our Aunt Mercedes and Uncle Nate, we went to visit them in Colorado, and they were telling us all about it was really close to Halloween, and they were telling us about their Halloween nights, and that on their Halloween nights, they all put their kids to bed, they live on a cul-de-sac, and that they all go and sit in the cul-de-sac and, like, trick or treat at each other's houses, but, like, with shooters, or, like, they play cornhole in the cul-de-sac while they all have their baby monitors on them. Yeah. And I was like, that is so fun. I was like, I want to live in a neighborhood like that, but one person has to get that started. Seriously. Someone has to become friends with their neighbor. You have to be able to reach out to your other people. And then, like, now they're all best friends. They did not know each other beforehand. Yeah. And now they, like, hang out all the time. I think that their next door neighbor had, like, a teenager who became Aunt Mercedes' and Uncle Nate's babysitter. Because, like, she was right next door and they met her. And I just think that's so fun. So it sounds scary. It sounds daunting. I know that we are making it sound so easy, and it's because it is simple to do.
And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm just saying, look at how many avenues there are.
Yeah.
They're
so
many.
everywhere.
And I almost feel like we have a responsibility to make friends. Yes, I do. Because I feel like we need I'm not planning on having kids, but I feel like the kids, I don't know, like they need examples of that.
Yeah,
like they need examples of healthy adult friendships. And I don't know, I just feel like growing up, I never really thought about how as an adult, like it was important to have friends. Like I feel like our parents did have friends, but I guess I just feel like you don't want to like lose yourself as an adult when you start to have kids. You want to have those friendships. You want to have friendships formed, but you also want to still like leave room in your life for connection that is not related to your kids.
Yeah, I definitely think that's like a generational thing where I feel like our generation is looking at our own parents, as every generation does, and we're looking at our own parents, and I think it could be really easy to get lost as parents, and I think our generation's doing a really good job of trying to like making sure that you're still a person outside
I think that's true with parenthood for sure, but I think also just with the increase of social media and whatnot, it's so much easier to sit on your phone on like a Tuesday night than it is to go to a church small group or to a workout class or to the library or whatever it is. And I feel like it just gets that much harder with kids.
Yeah.
And kids have way more access to social media and things like that. So I feel like kids are connecting less. And I just feel like it's a good thing to model friendships and making new friendships. Yeah.
I love it so much. I feel like this episode has gotten me like giddy. I'm like ready to go out there and make
friends. I'm going to go make 10 new friends.
Yeah. Oh my God. Maybe that's what our call to action should be. Listen to this episode, send it to some friends and be like, hey, thought of you all listening to this one. Let's get brunch. Like, seriously. Let's get coffee.
Yeah. There is probably somebody that you're thinking of that you're like, oh, maybe I'd like
to be friends.
I've always, there are literally people in my life that I feel like I'm friends with because I was like, I just really think that we'd be good friends.
Me with Haley. Yeah. I love that. That makes me excited.
Awesome.
And I hope that while you guys are listening to this, like that you're getting jazzed up, you're getting amped up, you're going out there and you're going to make those friends.
Yeah. And maybe you could even send it to someone who you're like, hey, I've really been wanting to try out a new church. Would you be willing to go with me?
Yeah.
Or send it to your extroverted friend and be like, hey, would you be willing to go to yoga with me and be my liaison to meeting someone or whatever?
Because you would do that for me. Like the wingman of friends.
Seriously. Yes.
But no, I feel strongly about this episode. I really hope it's giving you some ideas and just shown you that it really is everywhere. And obviously, others are also striving for the friendships.
Yes, absolutely. And if you are really, really that stuck, you can always message me. I'll find you a friend.
True, you will. I love it.
I'll be your friend or I'll find you one.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope you loved it, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.